everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cold Bananas Show. I am your host, Michael Olinker,
I'm John Hanson.
and today we are going to be taking a look at our three most anticipated movies of the summer. Now, John and I are two different people. We're not one connected entity, so that means we're going to have three different movies, each of us. There might be a little bit of overlap, but you're going to get a full, rounded opinion of what we're looking forward to for the summer of 2018. So why don't you kick us off, John, with your number three choice?
All right, thanks, Michael. My number three pick for movies to see this summer is Mary Shelley. It's the story of the author who wrote Frankenstein, which is considered by many to be the first science fiction novel. It was written 200 years ago. I remember reading it in science fiction class in college and really enjoying it. It's a very influential novel. Shows almost every science fiction show nowadays has done a Frankenstein type episode. In fact, the entire series Westworld is kind of based on that premise. The previews look really good. It looks like it captures the gothic feel of that time 200 years ago. And let's hope that it delves deeply into the character, or the woman herself, the author, Mary Shelley. And so that's my number three pick of the summer. It opens May 25th. Now let's hand it back to Michael for his number three.
Thank you, John. So my number three, there was a lot of debate for this spot. This was a hotly contested spot, so the bronze medal should be very proud of itself. I almost gave this to Ant-Man and the Wasp because of the fact that it's a missing puzzle piece for Avengers Infinity War, and that was amazing. I almost gave it to Incredibles 2 because I loved Incredibles 1, but I'm a horror fan, huge horror fan, and there's a trailer that I saw for a movie called Hereditary that just absolutely floored me. It looks insanely creepy, it looks inventive, it looks like it's going to be incredibly disturbing, and the Sundance midnight screenings of the film bore out that kind of reception for it. That this is something that is deeply unsettling. It's been compared to The Babadook, if you're familiar with that. It's been compared with It Follows, which I wasn't the biggest fan of, but I still liked it. And I love a good indie horror film, something that comes out of nowhere and is brutal and shocking. And we already have one excellent horror film this year, A Quiet Place, and this looks like it could be up there with that. And it just looks like completely gloves off, disturbing horror, and I can't wait for it. So my number three choice for the summer of 2018 is Hereditary. It's going to be out on June 8th. Hopefully it'll hit enough screens that you'll be able to see it where you are. Back to you, John.
Okay, thanks, Michael. My number two selection is Juliet Naked. It starts August 31st at the end of the summer in wide release. This is based on a 2009 novel by Nick Hornby, one of my favorite authors, who's also responsible for About a Boy and, of course, High Fidelity. And High Fidelity is of interest here because that, of course, delves deeply into music geekery, as this book does as well. So you could say it's maybe a spiritual sequel in some ways. It delves into the idea of someone who's completely obsessed with a specific musician, and it's also a romance story as well. It stars three very good actors. You have Chris O'Dowd from Bridesmaids, you have Ethan Hawke, who plays the musician, and then Rose Byrne is the wife of Chris O'Dowd's character. So a strong cast there. Also, the writing team looks pretty impressive. Jim Taylor is among the writers. He has collaborated with Alexander Payne in the past. And you also have the writer and director of the 2011 film Our Idiot Brother, which I remember being a pretty good film. So I have high hopes for this long-awaited Nick Hornby adaptation. Let's hand it back to Michael for his number two entry.
All right, thank you, John. So my number two choice, I'm going to go sort of in a similar vein to John. Like John's number two choice is this sort of intimate study of love and obsession and everything like that. And I think you can say the exact same thing about Deadpool 2, which, I mean, really, the first one was just this small, independent little affair, and I think that's what we're getting into with the. I'm kidding, obviously. But the first Deadpool was a king of sarcasm. That movie just was non-stop tongue-in-cheek, so it felt appropriate. I don't apologize for what I have done here. But, I mean, this just looks like it's going to be sort of bigger, sort of expand the universe that was sort of had to be small in the first movie because of budgetary constraints. Fox had no faith in Deadpool. They made it because fans demanded that they make it, and they made it for a pittance in studio terms. I think it cost $60 million, which a lot to me, a lot to you, not a lot to a studio. And so the world was small by necessity in that movie, and they're going to expand that world now. And it looks like they've been able to do that without costing the film its sense of humor. It looks to be a rousing, sarcastic, funny, fourth wall breaking, good time. And as a huge fan of the first one, which is, except for X-Men First Class, my favorite movie in the X-Men universe, which it feels weird saying that Deadpool's in the X-Men universe, but he is, for better or worse. And his first movie is one of the finest examples of storytelling in the X-Men franchise, because it is so unique and so different and so refreshing in the way that it approaches the superhero genre. And strangely enough, after talking about how different it is, I'm really looking forward to more of the same with Deadpool 2. Comes out on May 18th, and can't wait to see it. Back to you, John.
All right, thanks, Michael. My number one pick for the summer wasn't too hard to come up with. It's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which opens June 22nd in wide release. And I've been saying for a long time now that Jurassic Park should get back to its horror roots, and it looks like they're taking me up on my suggestion with this one. It's directed by Spanish horror director J.A. Bayona, who's done The Orphanage, which I haven't seen, but I heard it's really good. And it's also the second film following The Lost World's Jurassic Park that brings the dinosaurs to the mainland. And so you can see that this new trilogy is kind of repeating the pattern of the original trilogy, but hopefully in some interesting new ways. It, of course, returns the cast from Jurassic World, the 2015 blockbuster. So there's some nice continuity there. Colin Trevorrow is back as one of the co-writers, as is Derek Connolly, who also did Kong Skull Island. So there's a pretty good pedigree behind this. I hope we see some more character development. And most of all, I hope we see some good scares, which is something this franchise needs. And now back to you, Michael, for your number one pick of the summer.
All right, John, thank you very much. So, after going our separate ways on numbers 3 and 2, it looks like we're both given the gold medal here to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I'm an unrepentant Jurassic Park apologist, except for 3, because I have eyes and common sense, so to hell with that movie. But loved the first one is the movie that got me into movies. The Lost World is sort of a really cool Friday the 13th with dinosaurs style approach. It's a more pure horror film, whereas Jurassic Park was science fiction. Jurassic Park 3 wasn't much of any kind of film, but it was horrifying. So, I mean, it has that going for it. Jurassic World sort of managed to come back to the science fiction of Jurassic Park, like John said, very sort of similar in that regard, but at the same time it added this really cool meta-commentary about the nature of blockbusters. The Indominus Rex is the film's commentary on what modern blockbuster audiences are expecting. Like, they even put the words in Bryce Dallas Howard's mouth where she says, people aren't impressed by what we could do with the first Jurassic Park. We have to give them more. We have to give them bigger. This is what they want, or they're going to tune us out. Like, that is literally an indictment of the audience who just plunked down their $10 to see the movie, and that took guts, and it doesn't get the credit that it deserves for that. Where it was lacking was character. Like Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt, they were very charming, but that was them. I really didn't... Gun to my head, I couldn't tell you the names of their characters right now. It was like T-Rex Bait 1 and T-Rex Bait 2, who cares? But they're back for this one, and they're charming actors, so that's cool. I hope we get to know more about them this time. I hope we get more backstory that isn't quite so cliched, because that was the weak spot of the first one. But I'm in for this one. I also really dig the whole boy and his raptor vibe that's coming off between Chris Pratt and Blue. I think that's actually endearingly silly and funny. The fact that it's almost like a buddy cop comedy between Chris Pratt and a raptor taking on this Indoraptor. So, I mean, I'm in. I've been in the tank for this movie since forever. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom literally could... Like the kingdom could have been like the Magic Kingdom. It could have been like Chris Pratt and his raptor friend go to Disney World or something like that. And I'd still... Does it have Jurassic in the title? I'm in. I'm there. So, I mean, take what I say with a big old grain of salt, but... wild, I guess, raptors couldn't drag me away from this movie. So, yeah, that does it for my top 3 for the summer. So that will do it for our 2018 summer preview, what we're looking forward to most. Thank you very much for watching. Did we mention anything that you are looking forward to? If not, if you're wondering, hey, how come nobody said Solo? Or if you're like, those jerks, those absolute jerks, there's a new Purge coming out this year, and I got to give them my 2 cents, then yeah, go ahead, comment, let us know. Let's have a dialogue here. Summer movie season is fun. If we're movie fans, we should be talking about it. So just let us know. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm Michael Unger.
I'm John Hamm.